Hey guys, welcome to the Wu-Man Chu Chronicles. This is Wu-Man Chu, and I have a very special guest, Diego Rodriguez. He's a vocalist for Beneath the Floorboards and the bass player for Riffer. And with our interviews, we're raising funds for the bands and also the venues, Smitty's Greenlight Tavern, and also the Hanging Tree Cafe, and for supporting all the local acts and for this Ref Fest bill this year. And this is my way of giving back to them. Hopefully, this coronavirus goes away so that way we can party on at the fest. And like I mentioned earlier, this is Diego Rodriguez, and he's a rock star in our hometown. Say hello, Diego.
Hey guys, what's up?
Awesome. So we're gonna go in your music history here, and let's start with Ira. I think I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know how to pronounce it either. It's Latin. I
Oh,
don't know
cool.
why.
What
It's just
inspired the name of it?
so that original group, there were six of us, and it was this wrath is the sixth deadly sin, and that's wrath in Latin. So that's kind of where that came from, and nobody knew how to pronounce it. So
Heck yeah, dude.
yeah,
Man, it reminds me of the movie Seven.
yeah, right,
Oh man, that
yeah,
movie was pretty intense.
oh yeah,
But yeah, like
yeah.
and you've never played an instrument and you've never sang a note. And what made you just dive into music?
Uh, I don't know. It was just kind of everyone I was friends with and still am friends with. Everyone was a musician in some way. Um, I know Tyler, one of the guys who still play with today. He and I met. We were both wearing Metallica Kill 'Em All. I was wearing a shirt and he had a hoodie, and we met at high school and both stopped. Hey, nice shirt. And then we started talking, and then from there talking with all the other guys. And, it'd be cool to have a band. I just kind of everyone knew how to play something to some degree, and I just kind of wedged myself in and never left. So
Indeed, it's pretty cool how like band shirts like bring people together. And
yeah,
I had a summer sanitarium shirt back in college, and it had like Deftones and Mudvayne and Limp Bizkit and Linkin Park for that
oh
summer
nice.
sanitarium year. And my buddy goes, "Hey, I went to that show," and then we just became really good friends in college. So it was
Oh
pretty cool.
nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
that sounds. I always hear stories about that show. I know a few people that went to that. I would have loved to have gone that, but oh well, I guess.
indeed, it was quite
Yeah.
legendary for sure. It was my second concert ever. It was pretty rad.
Oh, nice. Gee, that's a good second concert.
Indeed, absolutely,
Yeah.
man. And so you loved music from the get go, and I'm glad. Like, what were like your influences that made you fall in love with music?
Uh, so initially, I mentioned Metallica. That was probably one of the bigger ones. System of a Down was actually the band that introduced me to metal altogether. My brother he'd play it for me when I was little, after the first and second albums came out, and I remember he'd always tell me, "Don't sing this around mom and dad because of all the stuff they sing about." But there was that one because before that, uh, I mostly knew like what he and he and my sister listened to, which was more like Bone Thugs and Tupac, which I still listen to. I still love all that stuff. But that was my first introduction to metal. And from there, I found Metallica and started with the Black Album, which then I found out, oh, if you listen to older stuff, it's better. And I kind of never looked back from there because then I found them. It snowballed. I found out about the Big Four and found out about other metal bands, and then of course Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden and all those kind of things. So
Indeed, and man, I remember back when I lived in California, they had like, the Big Four show, and I didn't get to go to it, and I'm like,
oh
man,
yeah,
that would have been legendary to go see all four big bands there.
yeah. I remember they broadcast that, and they had like movie theaters were playing it. Me, Tyler, and a few other guys, we went to the local movie theater here. And I remember we're meeting up with one of our friends, and and her dad was there, and he was sneaking in a bottle of whiskey. We tried moshing up at the front at the movie theater. So
Indeed,
yeah,
man. So let's see here. Um, so the group needed a metal vocalist for their style, and you weren't
yeah,
able to sing well. It says, and but you ended up being a vocalist later.
uh,
Yep, and but that was like with Beneath the Floorboards. So I've seen y'all perform a couple times. So that's pretty rad.
yeah, yeah. And I still don't know how to sing, but and back then I just again I just wanted to be in it, and so I just kind of started yelling into a not even I didn't even have a microphone at the time. It was just me yelling in the background of these guys playing their guitars, and I kind of just kept going with that. Uh, Even back before Beneath the Floorboards, it was the same thing. And when I first started, I remember didn't know what I was doing at all, so I'd be spitting up blood and stuff, and then it's like, okay, I gotta stop doing this and kind of learn better technique, things like that.
Holy moly, that reminds me of your first show with in 2009 with The Exorcist. Instead of Linda Blair with the split pea soup, he spit blood out. So that was pretty intense.
Yeah, yeah, and that show was funny too because I was so nervous for that show. You know, I was the front man, but I didn't know any stage banter. I didn't know how to talk to an audience, and so when I got up there and I said, "Thank you all for coming out to Phil's," I screamed it like it was the song was going, and I did that for the whole show. Nobody knew what I said the entire time.
Man, that's pretty
Yeah,
wicked.
yeah,
Oh man, I can't even imagine like just with blood. Just that's intense, dude.
yeah. Well, I don't think I never spit it up on stage or anything, luckily. But it was more afterwards. I would go home and I'd just be hacking up because I couldn't. My throat was hurting so much. And so it probably would have been more metal to have done it on stage, but
Heck yeah, go Gene Simmons on him.
right.
Yeah. Oh man, and so I remember you sending photos of like you back in the day, and you were playing like a house show, and
Uh-huh.
that was pretty wild. Like, what was that lineup like back then, and whose house was that?
We actually played a few different house shows. The first one was at our buddy Travis's house. He was the bassist in Death by Cemetery. But at the time, he wasn't in Death by Cemetery. I, I don't know. He wasn't. It was, but that show was Exorcist. It was the Sons of Bessemer City, which was him and Jesse Head from the Rage Tones, and a couple other guys were in that band, and then Death by Cemetery played. So it was those three bands that played that night. That was the first one we did, and then the second one was at Ernie's house, and it was basically the same three, except at the time, uh, Sons of Bessemer City was no more, and they became Voltaic, not the those young kids, the thrash metal band. This was old Voltaic, um, and so it was the same lineup essentially, though. And then after that, the three of us played at my graduation party, and that was the third house show we did. Um, oh, and then also for the Rage Tones for their first CD release show, we played over at Jesse's house. And unfortunately, though, the cops got called on us during our set, and of course, the Rage Tones were going to close it, and so the cops came and they're like, "No, you guys can't be doing this." And then they're like, "All right, you guys could do one more song." And so Jesse decided that he's going to do a medley of all the Rage Tone songs and call it one song. But it worked out at the end. So
That's pretty cool how you guys all go way back, and it's just like, man,
yeah, we used to call ourselves the Triforce because a bunch of geeks, basically. You know, a lot of the guys were all into Zelda, and I remember a few people we would call ourselves the Triforce.
Excellent stuff. I remember playing all the old Legend of Zelda games on the old Nintendo,
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
cartridge was all gold. And oh man, I miss those games.
yeah. I still got mine, and I haven't played it in forever, but I hold on to that thing.
And the Double Dragon 2 is like my
Oh,
other favorite. Yeah, good stuff. Man, I was like so lost with like Voltaic, and I'm like, they can't be like the original Voltaic. That's just crazy. They're like
right.
young kids, you know. But I'm glad like it got carried on a new band, and can't wait to party with those cats with you all, and it's
Oh
gonna be a
yeah,
fun time.
yeah.
And
It's amazing that they happen to get the same name. They had no idea that there was an old Voltaic when I talked to him. And I think Jesse said he even gave him a shirt. So
dang, that's pretty awesome. How like everything comes back full circle and like just it has a rebirth, you know. And let's see here. So you picked up bass and you played with Death by Cemetery in the very beginning. And
uh,
what were those days like?
uh, yeah. So I picked up bass and I kind of started tinkering with it right from the beginning. We had this weird idea of having two basses in a band because we a double bass solo, which we've never ever done because we kind of realized now it'd be weird. But with Death by Cemetery later, um, at this time I was actually back to just vocals again. I kind of switched back and forth a lot, but because Alex was playing bass, if I remember right, and Ernie on guitar and Zach on drums, and that was interesting because the name Death by Cemetery came around, we went through like 10 different names for every week. We're like, this name's stupid, and we just kept switching it. So, and I
Man,
think we had like 4 songs, something like that at the time.
indeed, we got 3 viewers in the watching us, and like say hello and jump in, and we'll answer some questions that you have during the interview. Wanted to give the viewers a shout out. Thanks for joining us, by the
Yeah,
way.
thanks.
Yeah. Let's see here. Um, so Exorcist turned into Reticulum, if I pronounced that right.
Yeah,
And what were those days like? Just doing like bass and vocals and playing the guitar.
yeah. So at this point, Exorcist actually had become a 6-piece band, um, and we had 2 guitars, bass, drums, keyboard, a keyboard, and me. So we were like, I don't know, trying to be. It was still it was like thrash metal, but it was kind of weird. Um, and actually, our keyboardist is what her name's Celeste. She's actually Ernie's wife now, so it's kind of an interesting thing. But so with that band, our guitar player Luis, he wanted to do a side project at the time, and because he wanted to do vocals, and we were all kind of wanting to branch out a little bit. So I decided that I wanted to play bass for that band, and this was Reticulum now. So I played bass, Luis played guitar, and then Tyler came over, and no, not Tyler, our other friend Josh, who was an exorcist as well. He played guitar, and then we got our other friend Kenny to play drums. And so we had both bands going for a while, and then Luis kind of was like, I'm gonna step away from Exorcist and focus more on Reticulum. So then he did that, and Exorcist just kind of lost steam at that point because Luis was just he's a great guitar player, and he kind of kept us in line with Exorcist. So then we just basically switched all of our focus over to Reticulum at that point.
Indeed, what inspired those names of your bands?
So Exorcist was uh, it was me and Tyler originally, just us two. And it was he played bass and I sang, and there was no guitars or drums at all. Um, and we came up with the name partially because, so I'm Catholic and Tyler is atheist, I guess. Um, so an exorcism is like a battle of good and evil type of thing, was my thinking anyway. And also apart from that, it was just a good name. And then with that one, it was originally spelled Xorcist, and we had a MySpace, and then we got like this guy emailed us because he had like a weird EDM project called Exorcist, so we changed the I to a Y, and I don't know, never heard anything again after that. And Reticulum came because Luis liked, I guess there's a constellation or something called Reticulum, and then also the endoplasmic reticulum. But so I don't know, that was just kind of a sciencey name, but half the time we just called it rectum. So
Oh man, that's good stuff.
yeah,
I
that's at
love
least what I called it all the time. He'd get mad at me, but
finding all these hidden gems and jewels.
yeah.
Oh man, so no, again, the bands broke up at the end of 2010, and in 2013 you didn't pick up play any music. What made you like what took your time had you step away and was replaced with music during that
Okay.
time?
Yeah, so the stepping away thing, and I'm pretty sure those, I when I sent you those years, I don't think they're right, but anyway, when stepping away was partly Luis from Reticulum, he moved to Arizona, so then we were kind of left behind, and he wrote pretty much all the Reticulum songs, and we didn't feel right playing those songs without him and teaching another guitar player, so that kind of happened, um, and we just kind of, I don't know, it just slowly went away, and life kind of took over, and so over those next couple years, like I ended up going to school for a while and doing different stuff, and um, then Death by Cemetery kind of went on their hiatus, and it was more Ernie and Alex was their big idea, and I think I want to say it was actually more late 2014, not 13. I don't know. They could correct me on that one, but where they came up with the idea, they're like, "Hey, we should start jamming again, and we want to play music again." So, and of course, uh, I would, Zach and I were both all in, so we all got together, and it was like September, October of that whatever year that was. I just remember because we were drinking pumpkin beer in Alex's basement, so that's why I remember the time of the year. Anyway,
Indeed. So
yeah.
you all got together with Beneath the Floor, Death by as Cemetery back in October 2013 to form Beneath the Floorboards, and you no longer became the bass player, and you became the main vocalist. What made you switch from bassist to vocalist?
So part of Ernie's and Alex's original thing was Ernie wanted to start playing bass because he had played guitar, almost primarily with all the bands, and so he wanted to change things up a little bit, and it was kind of vice versa with Alex. He did a lot more bass than he did guitar at the time, so he wanted to switch things up. And since there was already a bassist, and I can't do anything else really, I'm awful at guitar. So I just stepped back into the vocal realm, and of course, Zach was still on drums. So
Indeed. And let's see here. Um, they were all different from each other. Like what were the genres of each one, and if you could like categorize them.
yeah, that's so hard to do because um, so this lineup was actually the original Death by Cemetery from a long time ago, and part of the reason why that never ended up really working was because of the different tastes in music. So then later on, when we did Beneath the Floorboards, it worked better because we were just more grown up, and our tastes had varied enough to where we had that. Um, so anyway, for myself, I was always into thrash metal, but at the same time, uh, I was starting to get into like shoegaze, black metal, whatever. I don't know. genres, they're hard to keep up with because there's so many of them. Anyway, so I was getting into that more of that stuff. Ernie had post rock, post metal, mathcore type stuff, and Zach was really getting into that stuff as well at the time. And Alex was kind of like more of a mix between those, I guess. I don't know. Um, so it was just a lot of weird influences that kind of came together. Um, but it was we were able to make it work a lot better, and that's kind of where we get more of that unique sound. Um, where I always I want to push for like maybe like a faster you know part or something, and then Alex really likes like the really kind of weird stuff. So and Zach likes breakdowns, and everyone has their own kind of thing that they bring to the table that helps out with it.
Indeed, that's pretty cool how like all those styles come together and just like sound great. And if you'd like to check that out, check out the live stream that we had a couple years ago with Beneath the Floorboards at Smitty's. Those are some cool angles, and I remember Zach was helping me out with another one at the Rainbow, so with his handheld camera, and it was pretty dope. It's
Yeah,
pretty neat, and then in 2019, you helped form another project called Lost Riffer, uh, and you're now on bass and vocals again. How did
yeah.
that come about?
Okay, so Zach moved to Arizona, and so by the way, I hate Arizona because they take all of my friends. But anyway, so he moved to Arizona, and actually, good job, to Zach for going and doing something like that. So I can't really give him too much crap about it. But so he moved, and so Beneath the Floorboards had kind of been just on hold. We're still together, but it's just on hold for right now. Um, so we kind of got bored. Alex and I, we live together too, so it was like, man, I want to play music, and it just, we want to play something. So then I was talking with Tyler, and it's like, yeah, we should get something together again. So Tyler came over, and it was me and him at first, again, kind of like back in the Exorcist days. Um, and then our other friend Travis from Death by Cemetery came and played bass for a little while, um, but he just kind of had too much going on and stuff, so he couldn't really commit too much. And then our friend Bill from back the Exorcist days, he came and wanted to play drums again. So he's actually playing on Zach and Ernie's kit, because we just all play in my basement. Um, so then we didn't have a bassist, so I was like, I could play bass again. I miss it, so started doing that. And so actually at the time, originally it was just the three of us, and we're like, man, we really need a rhythm guitar player or someone to do some leads, kind of back and forth. And it kind of felt bad even because the whole time we're in the basement doing that, Alex is upstairs. And we're like, why don't we ask Alex? Like, he's a great guitar player and a musician and everything, and he he knows way more about music than the three of us combined. So um, one time he came downstairs. I didn't even know what for, and we're like, "Hey, you should stay down here and play with us." And so it's been like that ever since.
Man, that's pretty cool. And
Yeah,
we talked about like the big four and your Metallica and Bone Thugs and all that stuff.
yeah.
And I want to know like if you could put together your own music festival, which bands would you have on the bill with you, past or present?
Past or present? Oh well. Uh, the first bands I'd have to pick are going to be the bands that I've never gotten to see. That's going to be my main thing. Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Dio, and I don't and any form of Dio, Black Sabbath, Rainbow, Elf, Dio himself, anything. I just want to see him. That's going to be my biggest things. Are going to be the people that I'll never get a chance to see, unfortunately. Um, but apart from that, uh, if I were to branch out more, I would want like 1988, 1989 Metallica to come play. Well, I don't even want to say that. No, that's not right. 1986 Metallica before Cliff died, because I, as much as I'd want to hear Justice stuff, I want to see Cliff. Um, so them that specifically, Iron Maiden, my other favorite band, and then branching out into other stuff, Bone Thugs would be awesome to have. Um, that's always been one of my favorite. Um, and then there's I don't know, there's so many, and then even other weird types of music that I like, that aren't metal or rap, and and Johnny Cash. I would love to see Johnny Cash. He's probably more metal than anyone, so especially for being country. Um, I don't know. So I don't know. It's too much stuff. I'm missing a whole like 18 genres of music with this. So
Indeed. I gotta send you my Bone Thugs mix that I made. Even though I'm
oh
a
yeah,
huge Wu-Tang fan, I love Bone Thugs too, and
oh they're
taking
both
back to
great.
like, indeed. I
Yeah.
hope they do like a versus battle, because man, that'd be like a legendary battle.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah, that Luda and Nelly battle was pretty wild. It's good stuff. Takes you
Yeah.
back.
Right. Yeah.
Indeed. Man. So any plugs you'd like to plug in, like any shows coming up or anything like that, or any shout outs you'd like to give to the viewers at home?
As far as shows coming up, just your festival, if we get to play it, if it happens with all this stuff that's going on. Uh, it sounds like both Beneath the Floorboards and Velociripher are going to get a chance to play that. We're super excited for that. Both bands. I mean, that's something we've looked forward to every year. In fact, we've all even mentioned at one point or another where if we don't do a show all year, that's the one we have to do. Um, so that's really the only thing on the horizon right now as far as that's coming up. Beneath the Floorboards, finished up or getting our recording mastered, and just some tweaks on that. We've been working on that for a long time now, and hopefully get that out soon. I watched Ernie's interview, and he mentioned that we already got the album art. We're basically ready to roll with it. Just once we get that copy, we'll get that out. Um, and then Velociripher is still much more in its infancy, so no recordings or plans there yet. But we're working on a logo right now for it. Our friend Sam Barton, who did the album art for Beneath the Floorboards, is working on a logo for us for Velociripher. So then after we get that, we want to do, make a Facebook and all that junk that comes with it so we can promote that band.
Indeed, and it's a huge honor to see you all come back and play the fest every year,
Thank
and
you.
just having a big old family reunion, and it's just great to see everyone party together. And it's just madness every year, but man, it's a whole lot of fun.
I know it's exciting.
Indeed, and if worst comes to worst, we'll have to live stream it like this, but hopefully it doesn't. And because
Right.
man, I miss every single one of you, and can't wait to go back home to Colorado and just party for a couple days.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I mean we miss everyone too. We finally started practicing like last week because of the whole shutdown and everything. So we haven't even seen each other. So, and also all the other bands that we always like to see. In fact, this year I want to be, because I haven't been able to be at Surethfest every night. This year I want to be there every single night, just to see as much comedians and bands and everything as I can, because they're all so good.
Indeed, like 20, I counted 21 local bands and 18
Wow.
comics from like coast to coast,
Jeez.
and it's pretty. It's gonna be one of those, and it's free to attend. So if you're one of the viewers that's not in a band, just come out to the show. Hopefully, COVID doesn't take us out,
Right.
and it's gonna be a fun time. And you gotta check out these cool cats, Velociripher and Beneath the Floorboards, and they put on one heck of a show. And yeah, and thank you so much, Diego, for joining the Wu-Man Chu Chronicles. I noticed Sareth forgot to change his name on from last night's interview, so we're not the same person. Just wanted to let you all know that.
Oh yeah. Right.
But yeah, Diego, thank you so much for joining us. And all the proceeds that we're raising, that's not scrolling on the bottom. Um, uh, the MSN.com one goes to Diego and his band.
Yeah.
And also my proceeds will go. Hopefully, will raise enough for Smitty's and the Hanging Tree Cafe's staff. So during these times. So thank you so much, Diego, and looking forward to seeing you at the fest. And we'll see you at the crossroads.
Right.
We'll
Nice.
say Uncle Charles or while we're there. But
Yeah, I miss him too.
for sure. Thanks, Diego, and thanks everyone for
All right.
watching. And
Yeah,
we'll
thanks
see
everyone.